Good evening. Welcome to our 97th edition of the Issues Room. This evening, we had a little brief technical problem here trying to get things situated, and that is why we're starting a little bit late. It's unfortunate, but however, it's good to be back with you here this evening, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the Issues Room page. I am Volcano Shelton. Our broadcast is on Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight we're here to have a great conversation on this 97th edition. We have two guests joining us. One is still uh, uh, on the way, but one is currently in studio with us. But before then, let me just be joined by Moses Sandy, uh, who's in the Delaware studios. Moses, man, listen, I'm so sorry. These technical issues take us to places we don't want to go. But anyhow, by the grace of God, we're here this evening, and it's good to be back.
Definitely, we are. Yeah, it is understandable, Volcano. That's technology. Things happen. So today we come. Let me say good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Would like to welcome you to the most talked about issues room, and this time we're going to discuss what the would like to welcome you to the establishment of a war crime code, the need or the proposal for the establishment of a war crime code in Liberia. So, Volcano, I'm happy to be here with you this evening.
Well, let's start with trending news since we're already out of time. We're going 10 minutes. What's on your end?
Yeah, look, something that really struck my attention, as I watched a video
Hmm.
that emanated from Liberia. It was a protest that was staged by families of the three missing men. And this case has been dragging for the past, I think, almost 3 years now, Volcano. So these people have not gotten justice, and
Okay.
they have gone to the U.S. Embassy to protest. Now, what really stood out to me in the whole gathering was why do Liberians have to always go to the U.S. Embassy to protest? We have a government in the country. We have a political leadership. So I was wondering, we speak of sovereignty, which we speak of independence. Volcano, what is going on here? Is it that our people do not have trust in our political leadership?
Well, Moses, the thing is clear. America has been our big brother, our father, our mother, our uncle, our aunt, our grandparents. And, I think when you look at it, you know how when you got your big brother, when somebody be you, you say, I went call my big brother.
Yeah.
So that the way we look at our government is the one that beating on us. So since our government can beat on us, who do we turn to? We gotta go to the American embassy, and we want to go on the books. So when you see people protest, let's come back to this case because I followed this case when I was with Ashford on Bridge Radio,
Okay.
and the three missing boys, it was tied to St. Moses,
Yeah.
the gentleman who owns the funeral home. Accordingly, he was in a diamond mine somewhere around the Hindi area across the St. Paul River, way behind bomb mines. And these young men went there, took a technician to fix his generator or something, and only to say to cross the canoe and the canoe capsized. And up to date, even we had Moses Carter, the police chief spokesperson, who couldn't tell us much about the case. There were stories all around the case. Even Side Joseph came to America and he was questioned, I believe, on Spoon TV. And he said when he got back to Liberia, he was going to resuscitate the conversation around the case. So up to date. So the family did protest around the Gardnersville area where St. Moses is, funeral home,
Hmm.
and the government had gone there to protect St. Moses property, according to them, that the property did not was not responsible for the Mason boys. So when you think about it, they have tested the government, and the government did nothing about it. So I think the whole idea of going to the American embassy is one way that they can get some kind of redress or go on record that something is wrong, and we have brought it up and we want you to be a witness. So when things go, amok, then we can be on record. So oftentimes, and even the senator was here the other night.
Yes, the
Ms.
young
Onga,
lady.
she talked about going to the American embassy to protest against, I believe, the elections commission because
Yeah,
she doesn't have
and that
things.
would be this Friday.
So I think it's just a trend because we so believe in America and this potency in the relationship that we have with America from our belief, and so that's why we continue to run to the American. But you know what? I think let's bring Ansu in quickly so he can weigh in on this. Ansu, what do you think about this?
Well, for me, first of all, I don't start any show without talking to the young people in the country. It means a lot to me. Um, the country is dying. Everybody's stealing our will, as if it is a fleeting of a nation. So, young people, we will talk to you. We will say whatever we have to say to you to awaken your patriotic spirit or your basic spirit just to survive. If you continue to sit in that country and feel that outsiders will come and change your lot, you're out of your freaking minds. The Americans will only care about you to the extent that you care about yourselves. If you do not stand up for yourself, nothing is going to change. You can go to the American embassy a billion times. They are sick and they are tired of us. We have to forge our own path. If we are not willing to stand up, to pay a price for the Liberia we want, nothing is going to change. You can cry blood, sweat, tear, all you want. You can go to these makeshift quasi building called churches. They don't. The solutions are not there until you're willing to stand up for yourself. Nothing is going to change. Look, I will say this to you: those missing boys, the Liberian people allow this to happen by becoming complacent. Every society, stuff like this will happen. But it's what the people do after that discourages such incidents from happening again. Every time somebody dies in the country, we feel sorry for ourselves. We expect vainglorious men. We expect vagrants to actually find solutions for our problem. It's not possible. The current leadership in Liberia, they are nothing but hooligans. They don't care about you. And people say, oh, Dualu, you're so forceful because lives are at stake. Real lives. Real people are dying. We are the fortunate few because we came to these people country. But our brothers and sisters are truly dying. And there's no other discourse. But what angers me the most is they sit in the silos and they continue to pray to a God that is not going to help them. I'm a Christian myself. God is not going to descend from the heavens and try and address your problems until you're willing to stand up for yourselves. Once again, guys, welcome to the show and help us share the show. Let's talk about Liberia.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. So we want to quickly welcome Emmanuel Jackson, Maplasia Nikia. It's been a while. Good to have you back on the show. We want you to share the link, invite others to come here tonight. We're going to have a great conversation. But I think Moses struck the point. I'm Freeman. Good to have you here. When you look at these protests and where it emerged and where to go, I think
Yeah,
it's all because of the ties with Liberia and America. Someone going to listen. The American embassy going to take petition, or and they're going to say, okay, we're going to look into the matter. So that way, when the ambassador has an audience with the president, he may say, listen, these are the things that you have not addressed, and then hopefully some attention can be put forth. But again, it's also it seemed to be a culture since the Civil War, since our war, because I don't know of this happening back in the normal times where we were running to the embassy to
no,
protest. How many protests did we have? In fact, Joe banned protests in Liberia,
yeah.
right?
He did. He did.
So
Street protest
yeah,
was
so there
banned.
was no chance for that. But
Yeah.
Moses and Ansu, I'm still waiting for Jeroy Cummings. He attempted to come in a few times. Hopefully, he's not having technical issues on his end as well. But recently the American ambassador at large, Beth Van Schaack, had gone to Liberia. She's uh, is ambassador for global criminal justice, and she went to Liberia. She was interviewed, and there's been a lot of sensation around her visit. And lately, we've seen Prince Johnson taking different posture. He's gone to his church, he's praying, he's condemning, and he's saying that there's no possibility for any war crime court to take place in Liberia. And I believe it's not just Prince Johnson, but other warlords themselves are concerned. But these are signals. You and I know that this woman wouldn't just go to Liberia just to go and show off. She's going there because there's something in the pipe. And I thought for us to have this conversation because for our country, and Dualu, I listened to you on your latest edition of the message to the Legatees in Liberia, right? And one of the things you talked about in those vision plan was reconciliation. For true reconciliation to take place in Liberia, these people must come to term with their sins. And you and I know Prince Johnson has been very boisterous with, he's never shown contrition for what he did, the innocent lives he took. Now, whatever happened between he and Samuel Doe, that's a whole different thing. But the ordinary people who were just gunned down under his watch and by him himself, and today to stand around the place and act like he's a preacher, benefiting from the ordinary people. This guy is living in luxury, owns a university, all of these things, you know, and nothing seemed to happen. All he does is he protecting the Nima people. He protect, that's the banner he runs under. Gentlemen, I thought for us to have this conversation because some of these people should not be in public space, should not be in public offices. I don't care what you say. We can't reward these people. We can't reward some of these people. That is why our country continues to remain where it's at. Look at the appointment the president made the other day here at the National Port Authority. Have you seen that appointment? That tells you the people are not serious. From the president to the legislature to the judiciary, no one is serious.
Yeah.
So, come here, guys.
Look, I would like to begin on the note. We have 14 years of civil war, and there are a lot of young people that could be monitoring this podcast tonight that have little insight. So let's just dive a little bit into the historicity of the Civil War. Between 1989 to 2003, we had two civil wars. The first one was 1989 to 1996. That's the civil war that brought the Samuel Doe, the autocratic Samuel Doe administration down. That was initiated by the National Patriotic Front, and later the NPF felt disintegrated to two factions, one led by Prince Johnson and the other by the now imprisoned Charles Taylor. When Mr. Taylor won the Liberian presidency in 1997, in 1996, in 1999, another civil war erupted in Liberia. And that civil war lasted to 2003. It was a civil war that coerced Mr. Taylor to flee the country. So, what we're talking about, yeah, we're talking about crisis that affected a country then of more than 4.6 million people. We witnessed the displacement of Liberians, more than 1 million Liberians across the world. People fled to other parts of Africa, people fled to Europe, and a lot of people also resettled in the United States. During the war, we saw mass murders. Uh, People were tortured, women were raped, so many crimes were committed. Both there were also economic crimes. The warlords, the fighters, the broke down institution, banking institution, companies, and they vandalized everything, looted, resources, and that just stalled the country's economy, disheveled everything, and the country came to a standstill. West Africa intervened, stabilized the situation, and fortunately for us, came 2005 when the Salif administration, after interim leadership, the Salif administration came to power. So at least now we know what we're talking about. Yeah. Okay. Volcano, like you said, people who are behavior specialists, one thing that we learn is that When negative behaviors are not punished, the failure to punish negative behaviors or the culture of impunity reinforces negative behavior. And that's what we have happening in Liberia today. A notorious war criminal, Prince Johnson, and the others. Take for example, Dr. George Bode, who is in the House of Representatives, and the others who are occupying other prominent positions in government. There has been no concrete action to hold these people accountable. Then what happens for our young people? That we're emboldening our young people to replicate what those people did over the years. So that's why people will believe that, hey, the individuals who committed crimes, the individuals who rape women, the individuals who torture other people who committed international crimes, these people should be held accountable. The TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, reports that what? We lost over 250,000 people. People die
That
unnecessarily.
number is even lower. That number is lower.
Well, that's
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. I
just
agree.
their estimate of the
Yeah,
number
yeah,
of people.
yeah. That
I,
number
I
is
I
low.
agree with you.
Yeah,
So all these people that died, the TRC calling for the establishment of a war crime court that will hold people accountable. I stand with the TRC. I stand with the United States. I stand with the British government. I stand with the government of Finland and other European countries that have gone the extra mile in holding war criminals from Liberia accountable. You have heard about prosecution of these people in the United States, in Europe, and other places. So I think I support the view that Senator Johnson and the others should be held accountable. And
yeah,
Dualu.
yeah. Dualu.
Mhm.
Well, Volcano, this is what I want to say. A lot of people don't understand when they talk about the World Economic Crimes Court, they think they are talking about punishment. Look, our country has to be made whole. This is setting the country right. Don't misconstrue reconciliation to mean let bygone be bygone. That those who committed the most heinous crime in our country's history are going to walk free. The issue of reconciliation implies this is how it should be viewed. Reconciliation means setting a balance again in the country. So anybody who took that balance out of place, that person must be put in the proper place, not in the middle of society. We are taking the natural resources of the country, the resources of the country rather, and we are giving it to men that literally murdered their way to the top. We are not going to develop as a society. This is not going to change until these people, even if you don't want to prosecute them just yet, they should not be in a governmental space. Look, I want to speak directly to my people for this. To the people of several counties in the country, you do not owe loyalty to anybody who murder your fellow citizens. You are sending the wrong message. You look, you are not protecting them. Your country must take precedence over every single thing that happens in our society. Because whatever affects one portion of that society will affect every single person in that society, including all of posterity. You have a duty to your country, not to an individual. We continue to empower these people directly by voting for them. What you do is you're diminishing your humanity when you do that. You don't understand what you're doing. Reconciliation means elevating your country back to a place of prominence, redirecting the affairs in your country so we can be respected again, organizing your country in a way where we can begin building institutions for the governmental process. This is what reconciliation means. It's not necessarily punishing these people, it's ostracizing these people so they can no longer be into the governmental space. Look, we send the wrong message. If Dualu decides tomorrow that these guys can get away, I can look for some money, buy me some Kalashnikov, and go to Liberia and start a civil war, murder a bunch of people, and say, you know what? You cannot try me for this because if you try me, I will continue to bring war, or you gotta let me go free. When does it stop? It stops when we set a benchmark. We say Not anymore. These people must be removed from the governmental space. The president has an authority. Let me tell you something. Look, people don't understand the way our constitution works. A lot of times you don't have to be a lawyer. I hate that nonsense about, oh, you're not a lawyer. It's a simple, the Constitution is intentionally written in a simple way so anybody with a high school education can fully understand what the Constitution means. That's what the Constitution is written for. It's not a complicated thing. The president has an authority. Even if they elected this individual, the president can say, you know what, based on this thing, you can take this person to court. President Weah doesn't have to set up the War Economic Crimes Court. You just take one person that accuses a person in government. You can say to the president, listen, we're going to suspend all your privileges as a representative, as a senator, until you clear the into the Liberian court. There are ways we can begin this process. We would not be taken seriously if we continue to take murderers. We're going to take people that committed such heinous crime in our society, and we continue to protect them through the governmental process. We're sending the wrong message to the international community. And I'll give it back to you guys.
Thank you. Let me bring in Jeroy Cummings. Jeroy is backstage. He's all set, ready to go. Evangelist Cummings, you're muted. Welcome to the issues room. Let me see if I can unmute you here. I guess you got to do it yourself. Go ahead, brother. Welcome.
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Gerald. We're not hearing you. Is your mic open?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
There you
Okay.
go.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I want to say good evening and good day to you guys, Mr. Sandy, Dualu, and the many viewers and listeners watching the program. It's good to be here this evening. Wonderful discussion.
Thank you, man. Listen, you and I have talked off the record about the TRC, and you have a lot of information surrounding evidentiary documents, of the TRC, the process, and all of that. So at least you know a lot that has taken place as a result of why this TRC and so forth. Recently, the American ambassador at large, Beth Schaack, was in Liberia. She's the one that dealing with the global criminal justice, and she visited the country. She didn't have the opportunity to meet President Weah. I don't know why, but she did say that she hoped to meet with him. But since her visit to Liberia, and it ties in, when you think about the sanction and then here the TRC, story is Rex writing. From your thought process, what do you think that a visit of this magnitude means? And here what it is, there are mixed conception around it. People, even lawyers in Liberia, says that the U.S. does not have the moral compass to even support a TRC process in Liberia. And also, they accused Madam Van Schaack as being compromised because she has a relationship with a guy called Hassan Bility from another, arm of social justice. And
one of those advocates for human rights.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so there's a lot of misconception here. So from your perspective, knowing the process, following the process, and all of the information that you have in your personal library, do you think this visit signals that the TRC will finally get a break?
Thank you, Volcano. When you talk about the aspect of the lawyers, I watched the interview for some time. It was kind of laughable hearing from some of the Liberian lawyers what they were saying after, a convention that took place, and about 40 some lawyers decided that they would support the quest for justice in our country. To hear some of the young lawyers talking the way they were talking, I could understand from where they speak. But here's the reality. I see a big break for the TRC. But the issue here is the ball is in our court as Liberians. Prior to the TRC submitting her final recommendation to the government of Liberia, I recall vividly, I had an exclusive interview with former Representative Wisa Blamo and Slobodo. And because Wisa Blamo was then the chairperson on Truth and Reconciliation at the House of Representatives, and he said in that interview, Jeroy, I resign. I said, on what ground? He said, you just wait. Something big is coming. There's a ball game that people are playing at the TRC, and it's been played from the executive mansion to some members of the TRC. I was shocked because I know these two guys to be tough talking. Even though one of them was in the office of then this Nelson guy who used to work with Charles Taylor. So I was shocked, and I was waiting to hear what would be the outcome. 3 days later, Volcano, 3 days later, Prayer Brown Bull ran to my office out of breath. Mr. Cummings, we got to do an exclusive. I said, Madam, Counselor, I'm running somewhere, but somebody can do an interview with you. Tonight we were running. She said, yeah, because this thing is too much. I came back. I listened to the interview before we could go on the air. I said, gentlemen, it seems like the TRC may likely not hold. So I called Councillor Boo, and she gave me the whole rundown, what had transpired. I called Honorable Wisa Blamo, and he said the same thing. I said, oh my God, justice will not be served. Then I knew that the TRC members themselves or commissioners themselves had problem. But after submitting the documents to the legislators then said that this is what they said. They said, we will go to our constituents or our constituency to hear from them. Volcano, that year was a big lie. They never had a town hall meeting. Neither were they going to their constituents or their constituency. Some of the representatives and senators came to the diaspora. Never told their constituency or their constituents what was enshrined in the TRC document. Since then, that had been it. So if you listen to Madam Van Schaack, she said that there is a bill that is lingering in Capitol building. Few of the lawyers affect the signature to those documents or the bill, but yet and still the president is not taking action. So what I see is this: the civil society group in our country and Liberians, it's up to us, including people in the media. It's up to us to make this call so that the government of Liberia can see reason to establish the War and Economic Crimes Court. Look, to the extent where people like Saboli was then, boastfully talking that they are waiting. I remember Alhaji Kroman said in one of his section at the University of Liberia, because he was teaching television production. He said, well, we are lawyers. Even if they go there, we'll go to the Supreme Court and we'll defeat them. So look at the length of time the documents were presented to the legislators at the time, and look now where we are. And Gambia, they started the process a year ago. Now they're on par to start a process of justice and reconciliation in a country. So why it took all the length of time? Because some of the alleged perpetrators found themselves in key position, and another group of people who are promoting ethnicity, claiming that these guys were the king's men who came to their defense. But they were not only killing other people, they were not only killing a particular group from a particular tribe, they killed Liberians from all sectors. From all tribes.
Indiscriminately.
Yeah. So we have a serious problem, but I see a big break. So the lawyers some of the people who are saying, the issuability is, she been compromised. That's a myth. That's a myth. There's so many groups outside and in Liberia that have been calling for justice. As a matter of fact, this current president is on record. I got tips. He's on record calling for the establishment of war and economic crimes court.
prior to his sentencing.
Yes.
But,
That Volcano, it's not like your days, like the days of you, Moses Sandy. Most talk show hosts now do program, but I don't know if they're keeping some of these documents or
No, they
going
don't.
to make research to keep some of these documents so that when these people try to dodge the actual truth, you can present these documents. They are there. There are records. They're there. So it's incumbent upon us now as Liberians to make this call. And I think this is the time. The Americans will not do for us what we can't do for ourselves.
and I think you're right. That's what Dualu said. We need to uh, uh, take the first step. And I think this first step can begin with the president coming to the U.S. in December. If we can and continue to have this kind of conversation and raise uh, the the, uh, the stake and make it high, maybe that can be part of the agenda conversation with he and Biden if he ever has the opportunity to meet, in a tete-a-tete with Biden and say, hey, Mr. President, you promised that you were going to establish a war crime court. We can't continue to support Liberia under these circumstances when people are dying and getting missing, when auditors, and all of this. And then you have these perpetrators of heinous crimes against humanity are serving in government just under the canopy of being senators and government officials. I think we can continue to make this noise, and I think that would be the route to go. Um, I hope we were able to capture our sister Massa Washington to be here with us tonight, so she can add her weight to this conversation. But Massa, if you're listening, you can call in because I know the TRC is something that is dear to your heart, and you will probably have more information than we do. So if you're listening, we'll appreciate if you can call in. But Moses, I think yes, the ball is
Yeah.
in our court, but
Mhm.
we can make the noise and create some attention. So it comes back to your point. Why we go to the American embassy to protest? Because they will
Because we
hear
have no trust.
no, yeah, because they will hear us compared to our government, compared to the
Yeah,
president who made empty
uh,
promises and has not kept them.
yeah, and just to start on that, our people, it has become a pattern. Our people assemble at the U.S. Embassy and other international, uh, or say, or foreign embassies, to present petitions or to ask for international intervention in Liberia. So that just implies that our people have no trust and confidence in the leadership of the day, and that questions Liberians, who talk about sovereignty. If you cannot maintain your home, then how
I'm hearing
independent are
echo.
you?
I'm hearing echo
But
from
now,
somewhere.
yeah, do you hear me? Is it from my end?
Go ahead.
It's coming from Jerome. It's coming from Jerome.
Oh, okay. So now coming back to this whole issue,
Okay, we're good.
Vocabo, we found ourselves in a situation that is very, very complicated. Because take for example Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson is a notable character in Nima County. He has a strong travel connection. Nima County is a vote-rich county. Prince Johnson, someone like Prince Johnson, George Weah is not prepared to sacrifice 2023 by bringing Prince Johnson to justice. I mean, whether we like it or not, he has significant influence in Nima County. You go to Grand Judah County, George Porter, another notable character in the county. He's in the house. All the guys are in bed with the leadership of the day. What will Mr. Weah do? Is he willing to take a good leader will put the country first? Let me say that. A good leader
But
will
Moses,
put the interest of the
the man
country
are
first.
putting Liberia first. He putting Jamaica first.
So
That was their
that's so
holy
so
oil resources.
so that's what I'm saying. There's goodwill out there. The United States has continuously demonstrated its commitment to the establishment of a war and economic crime court in Liberia. Finland is committed. The United Kingdom is committed. The entire European community is committed to this. But our political leaders, when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came to the presidency, what did she do? She looked the other way because she's an indictee. The TRC report, she's one of those indicted for war crime. So with all these things happening, I just hope that our people will be able to step up to the place. But there are significant challenges, and I hope that our political leaders will begin to put Liberia first.
And I think
Look,
you laid us
just
on.
look at it. What the Civil War did to our young people.
And the
Volcano.
point, you said something, and just before I cue Dualu in quick,
Yeah.
the problem here is these young people who you see now at the detrimental state of being
Mhm.
is because of Prince Johnson.
Of
It's
course.
because of Charles Stiller. It's because of George Bull. It's because of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and all these people. And they amass wealth and they take this wealth and they sit on top of it. And they got the mind to be in a house and putting $30,000 in the budget for mental health. What preposterous decision is that? How silly and stupid that is. When you got the bedrock of your country, like Dualu said in his message to the Legatees, he talked about we borrowing the country from the young people. And how do we give this country back? We give this country back to Zogos. We give this country back to wayward kids. We give this country back. Look, lately you've been watching social media. Some of the people say they graduate. They're giving the late graduation speech. I want to thank my mama and my pa, the holy paper, the reading. And all of y'all working here today. Oh, then the start. I want to thank my mama and my pa for standing with me and my friend then. That the people that graduated from free
That's
tuition
right.
school.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well,
Hey,
it's free tuition, but it's free of quality. It's
yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's not. Let's be frank about
You
what it
know,
is.
so you got all
Yeah.
this problem, continue to compound the problems. And you got these
Look,
guys. Prince Johnson bragging about having one of the best universities in the country
Yeah.
and intending to go through the legal process through the legislature so that he
Mhm.
can get government funding.
Mhm.
You see. So I mean, it's a serious problem for our country, and I don't think we're getting out of this mud, this quicksand, with this kind of arrangement. The current arrangement in Liberia is the worst arrangement I've ever seen in our
Of
country.
course. Especially with the we administration.
Swallow?
well, I mean, your last speech is segue into my message this coming Sunday, an idea to re-examine the Liberian state. Look, we have to employ desperate measures to what's happening to the country. You know, sometimes people say, "Oh, Dualu, it can't happen overnight." Let me tell you, we've been stuck in this quagmire for so long. Some people really believe the conditions that persist in Liberia. They believe it's normal. If you tell them it's not normal, they cannot comprehend it. You know, people will listen to George Orwell. He would say, uh, people who elect corrupt politicians are not victims; they are accomplices. You would think that's entirely true. The more I read, the more I realize it's not entirely true. This is why I would say that when you keep up people for a prolonged period in abject poverty, after a while, they cannot differentiate what is reality and what is not. They're made to believe that their condition persists because this is how they are supposed to live. Now, you try convincing those people, the politicians in Liberia intentionally keep these people that way so they can exploit them. How do we reorient our thinking? This is our task, gentlemen. How do we change that thinking? When we tell our people, your vote carries with it so much more than casting a ballot. Your vote carries with it the aspirations of your children. It carries with it your future, your hospital, your roles, your condition, your education, your very viability in our society where you stay. Your vote means so much more. How do we tell them what this vote means? Our people vote if to say they have no understanding of their own condition. And there are politicians in the country. Look, I tell President we are. If I had an opportunity to speak to this brother, I would tell him, Mr. President, you have an awesome responsibility. You can live, you can become an immortal. Literally, you can live forever. This is a golden opportunity presented to you by the people of the Republic. Based on what you do here for your country, you can live forever. How much money do you need, Mr. President? Do the people's business properly, and the people will thank you for the rest of time. Why would people not see this also responsibility to transform this country? When we talk, people say, "Oh, you're jealous." Of course, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of my country being the least in everything. In fact, I'm extremely jealous that a man will reach the age of 30 years old and he would die because the life expectancy in that country is now hovering less than 60 years old. I'm jealous because for every 1,000 women that go to give birth in Liberia, 50 of them would die. This is the highest in the world, the maternal mortality rate in the country. How can you not be jealous of that? I'm jealous because since 1822, we were envy of the continent. Now we are the laughing stock of this place. And yeah, we are all complacent in this. And when you talk, somebody say, "What do you have in the country? And why will you talk about Liberia? What is your contribution?" Thank you so much, Volcano. There was a guy saying, "Mr. Dualu, what have you contributed to Liberia?" Are you kidding me? What have I contributed? Do you know what it takes to come on this show and talk? Do you know how much research go into this? Do you know what we are sacrificing to come here and enlighten our people? So much reading is involved. This is not simple. I ask you, join me and let's come talk. My man, I ain't got time for that thing. Yo. This is a sacrifice we are making. It would take somebody who understands this to fully appreciate what it takes to come and talk. And I will give it to my brother Jeroy.
And honestly, that's the right way you put it, because people say, "Oh, yeah, talk." Oh, thank God, God gave me mouth, and the
Yeah, but
mouth
we're
can talk,
educating. Yeah.
and the mouth can talk. The mouth can talk because the mouth know what it's supposed to say. I'm not just
Correct.
talking because I'm stupid. I'm not talking
That's what
because
solutions stop.
it's loose
Solutions stop at
cannons.
talking.
Yeah, and honestly, you were saying something just before Jeroy comes in. I don't know if any of you sometimes take the imaginations of Liberia and look at it. I was driving today, and I was on a 3-lane highway going where I was going. And then I said to myself, we don't even have a 3-lane highway going in one direction.
Anyway,
3-lane, a country since 1822,
No,
a country since
Volcano. In
1847.
Miami, in Miami, you have what? What? The tail lane, right?
Yeah, I know they make the links, but what I'm saying, just
And
in
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
infrastructure development, there's no 3-lane highway ever in the history of Liberia. But there's a lot of African continent, I mean, countries on the continent with 3-lane
and
highways.
overhead bridges. They're
And
building.
and but here's the other part. Maybe you haven't calculated it. From ERW Junction to Cardwell Junction, Thomas Awaji Point. That's the 2-lane going. United Nations Drive, Tottenham Boulevard merges in and turns into United Nations Drive. If you do the estimation, it's probably about 15 to 20 miles that way. Then the road is just built from red light to the Freeport, of course, 2-lane going, 2-lane. Okay, that's the only other 2-lane, plus the little intersection at what you call it, SKD Boulevard back to Somalia Drive. That Kofi Woods talked about the other day, that he was even in argument to make that 4-lane, right? That's all you have in the entire country. Nowhere else. Go anywhere else in Liberia. So when you put all of that, it's less than 50 miles. Less than 50 miles. If you calculate from ERW Junction to Cardwell intersection, and from Somalia Drive to the Freeport, then from that little connector between SKD and that. And I'm sitting there and I'm driving. I said, what's wrong with us? And George Weah made 80 million. Now he's making more than 200 millions. Prince Johnson, Nathaniel McGill, all of these no names the other day, continue to take our country and just throw it down the gutter. Then you say we shouldn't be jealous, we shouldn't be envious, we shouldn't hate these guys. We should hate them. We should hate them for their wickedness to the country. No development. You go to Monrovia, it's the same thing over and over. Nothing new. Jeroy.
Volcano, few years ago, 2009, the first time I left Liberia, traveled through Nimba, went through Toast-Town. When we crossed the border, I was looking at the little towns in Abidjan, in La Côte d'Ivoire, makeshift structure, current. Makeshift structure, current. Then I said to myself, something wrong somewhere. And I called my mom. She was then living in Abidjan. I just moved from Paris and moved to Abidjan. I said, sister, man, Ivory Coast. She said, no, come to Abidjan. Come closer a little bit. When I entered Abidjan, I was at the Catholic radio station. I walked outside and I sat down on the street and looking at light all over the place. The streets. You can see the roads, in terms of longevity, durability. You couldn't compare. You can't compare it to what we had. Then I said, look, these guys lied to us over the years.
Yeah.
And continue to lie to us. So they brought AK-47 in the name of changing the system. But they never changed the system. People sometimes say, Prince Johnson. Well, let's go to Maryland. You have a sitting senator, Dan Marias, a man who was in the TRC report. He carried on one of the heinous massacre in the southeast.
Okay.
He is now a sitting senator.
Sitting senator.
See that?
But people don't talk about those people. The reason why they don't talk about them is because they're looking at people. Well, Prince Johnson. Let's go back again to the southeast. Look at the current superintendent of Grangida County. Who is he? A former notorious general, ruthless one too. This guy was in Grand Bassa County, 1994-95. These were the people that the Bazolians, look, if Liberians can behave just like what the Bazolians did in 1994, the Bazolians saw that these guys were killing their people. They got tired. It was not all male or the ECOMA peacekeepers, the Tanzanian peacekeepers that were there, or the Ugandans or the Ghanaians or Nigerians that took LPC out of Grand Bassa. It was the Bazolians. The Bassa people said to themselves, enough is enough. Hudson, if you have mother pencil, if you have your cold spoon, if you have your pot, LPC will be out. So how can we change that today? Since indeed the U.S. government is saying, we are waiting to come and partner with you people.
Thank you.
To be in partnership with you people. But you guys got to be the one to play the major role.
Thank you.
We don't need to go to the Liberians don't need to go to the U.S. embassy to sit there and have a sit-in action with placards in their hands and calling for justice. You can get in the street. You can call your legislators. By constitutional provision, the legislators are a critical link to the people. So start with your lawmakers. Start with them. Media practitioners need to create programs. When we were going through a training to go to The Hague, these are some of the things we were taught. That look, in terms of social justice in the country, the media plays a pivotal role. The church also must be a voice. But since the day one of our major progenitor who became a voice, the conscience to the society, died, we can't find preachers today in our country that talk about justice. that speak about justice, because the reason here is this: some of the fathers of the land will go and dine and wine with the preachers, with the president, and people want to get some money to go on pilgrimage to Mecca or to go to Jerusalem. So as a result of that, you just don't talk about, you don't talk about the issue of justice. But there are so many perpetrators in that country who are sitting there.
Yeah.
And look at some of the reason why you couldn't find this thing of people promoting the TRC during Madam Ellen Johnson's Salif time. I will give you one case study. When the guys move up to Unity Conference Center, who were some of the key players that were dishing out the $5,000 around? You have people like Sabori, who was then very close to the former Justice Minister at the time, who admitted that he received $5,000 from the executive mansion through Madina Wise and Kamala Wise and Maurice Setuma. And all these people are sitting right there. So how do you expect justice? And now you find them sitting as senator, some of them in the comfort zone of the president. And the masses don't understand these things because, Volcano, the media institutions in the country, you can't find a independent media institution that will start talking about these things, because it's like he who pays the piper plays the tune. Absolutely. Some of the things you saw me doing with the TRC, when I came to the U.S. and I had an opportunity to do it, I expected some of the former commissioners to join me and join the bandwagon and say, Jeroy, we want justice. So we're going to help you to keep airing these TRC videos and create awareness. When I started that process, you saw the TRC website was up. But when you look at the statistics of people that were reading the documents and going there to watch the video, the statistics was coming from outside. Not many Liberians were taking advantage of it. 2 months later, the whole TRC website went down. Now it would take them almost $20,000 to $30,000 to put that website back up. How do you get all those documents to start telling our people, creating awareness? So and that's why sometimes I get so angry with some of the people who say they are advocates. The advocacy is a seasonal thing. I don't see consistency in terms of justice. I don't see consistency in terms of promoting justice in its totality. Like talking about what is enshrined in the TRC document. You may not have the time to read all of the documents, right? But you have time to watch some of the documentaries and see the perpetrators are there. The victims are there. And people now will go into an election process. Somebody will say Prince Johnson is he will be a kingmaker. Look, we were in the country when Charles Taylor was arrested. We were right there. Mm-hmm. We were right there when they arrested Charles Taylor.
Look, can I come in for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, if President Weah wants to save the Liberian people today, he can instruct the Americans. They can extract those guys in less than 24 hours, all of them. You can put their names down on the list. They can extract them. If you know, listen, I don't want to do this. The power is within the grasp of the president of the Republic of Liberia. They can extract them today. Today, they can extract those guys. Look, we have to find a way to give our people some peace. Look, we are not going to develop kingmaker. Look at the kind of power our brothers up in Nima have given to these people. To the likes of Prince Johnson, up in Grand Jita, to the likes of George Bulley. People say, oh, guys, I don't talk this. When you talk, if you come to the country, if people would do this, they would do that. An entire population of 5 million people will fear 30 or 40 men in the country. Men and women. This is how we're going to live. Mm-hmm. 5 million people fear 40 people. This is lunacy, folks. Look, what are we going to tell our children? We will tell our children. Every single time, you must be reminded. You have to be reminded about what George Washington said. George Washington was very, very poignant in his proclamation. He said, listen, government is not reasoning. Government is not eloquent. Government is forced. Like fire is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. If you leave government to irresponsible hands, government is going to run amok. It's going to rule over you. It's going to abuse you. You have to force the issue. Look, Even in these United States, people still protest every single day because they have to remind the government that the people do have the power. If you go to Japan, if you go to Singapore, every single developed country in the world is being transformed with protest. But the people, you go and bury your 16-year-old daughter who just got raped by a government official. A sitting representative rips a Liberian citizen, takes the little girl, sends her in the bush. Oh, we can't find it, girl. How will prosecute a man? This is the society, and we call ourselves Christians and Muslims. It's just pathetic, guys.
So, Jeroy, let me just talk a little bit about.
Moses, one second,
Sure,
one second,
sure.
Moses. Moses,
Yeah,
you're
go ahead.
freezing. Yeah, I just wanted to do the intermission quick.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Look, folks, good evening. Welcome to the 97th edition of the Issues Room. If this is joining us, we say thank you so much for coming through. You Montreal Krenga, good to have you here. DC Wilson, welcome back to the show. Thomas Awaji, our man, and Sweet Seattle Townsend, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Uh, we Fue Francis, it's good to have you here. I believe you're here for the first time. Make the Issues Room your alternative platform where we discuss the things that matter pertinent to Liberia. The establishment of the Issues Room was first for Liberia, for the continent of Africa, and Black diaspora. So we want to encourage you. Flomo Zuba, Amar Freeman, John Yomin Jr. It was good seeing you in Worcester the other day. Uh, Man, listen, the way I wanted to dribble you, I couldn't because I got injured. Anyway, we'll catch up on that one. And Henry Phelps, good to see you, and everyone that showed up here tonight. We say thank you so much, Adia Ha Umo, all the way from Australia. You know the time difference, and you can make it on the show. We say we appreciate your fan base, and also Emmanuel Jackson. We'll open the line at some point, but this conversation is solid, and we got to continue to talk about this because we're going into 2023 and we're believing that the votes will change the destiny of Liberia. But if we don't set some of these foundation now, it will be a waste because people have already done their soothsaying. You know, the soothsayers are already saying, oh, George Weah will win again because the oppositions are all scattered all over the place. The opposition say, I don't mind that man, he fooling himself. When we get ready, we'll hug each other, we'll kiss each other, we'll go back in bed, we'll cover on the same comforter, and we'll get serious. But, you know, this is a serious problem, Moses, and I
Yeah.
want you to come in.
Yeah, so I would like to come in by speaking to, the statement you made earlier about Prince Johnson and others who committed heinous crimes in Liberia being so jittery whenever they hear about
The
the
TRC.
establishment of
And you
wartime
know,
court.
Moses, I know you want to say something quick, but Darius
Yeah.
Dillon can just willfully when he see Prince Johnson around, he can mention it. Why the inner house? He said that
Because
TRC.
if we just verbal it,
Yeah. Say, the other day I saw him, he was saying, but why the man, anytime the man see me talk about TRC Bennett, why the man just bring it there? So this is the man see me just put wrong me for TRC Bennett. TRC
Yeah,
will never
big
come to
man.
the country. TRC can do it, they'll piss him off and making know that I don't care
Yeah.
how many years it takes.
Yeah,
Get
you know.
justice.
Yes, something
So
will happen.
let me just speak to that a little bit. As a clinician, what is happening to Prince Johnson and the many who committed heinous crimes in Liberia? Mr. Johnson struggles with what we call post-traumatic stress disorder. He experienced PTSD having been exposed to traumatic situation. Take for example, General Johnson was on the battlefront. His life was on the line. He was shooting at people, and people were also shooting at him. Whether he pretends or not, he's still reminded of the role he played. The role he played in how Samuel Doe was killed. Whenever he sits by himself, that's what we call flashback. That memory that never goes away. He thinks about all those crimes that he committed. So right now, Mr. Johnson and the others who play critical role in the Civil War, they have this constant flashback. They have this memory that just never goes away. it bothers them psychologically. They get so disturbed to the point that it makes it even difficult to focus and get anything done because they are in what? Constantly in survival mode. That's why when Mr. Johnson goes in a gathering and when someone talks about war crime code, he's looking over his shoulder. What comes to his mind? He thinks that everyone out there is out to get him. He's terrified. He's disturbed. It's the same old thing with Dr. Bole and the others. The representative, the guy who is now the superintendent, all these guys who committed crimes. It's almost like the guys who are veterans that returned from Civil War, and when they come back to try to reintegrate into normal life, they have to go through, significant transition, going through counseling because PTSD haunts you for years. If not addressed,
Moses, quickly,
yeah.
Prince Johnson is a evangelist, preacher, whatever it is.
He pretends, but
so
Mr. Johnson is
He's
just
not a prophet at all.
Yeah.
all the things he does. Volcano.
So the man said God forgave him. The man said
Whenever Prince sits by
God
himself,
forgave him.
Prince Johnson and all these young guys who amputated the legs of other people, who murder people, who rape other people, they are emotionally disturbed. And the PTSD I'm talking about, it's not only unique. Let me just complete. It's not only unique to General Johnson. That is why it's important that these people be held accountable. The ordinary Liberians that saw their sisters, their parents, their uncles being murdered in their presence, that saw other people being murdered in their presence. That's why when you come from the country affected by war, affected by community violence, you struggle with PTSD. And that, if it is not addressed, you get depressed. You begin to feel hopeless. And most people end up what? Committing suicide. As I speak to you, I am not diagnosing General Johnson, but I'm telling you, he's emotionally disturbed.
But Johnson is not committing no suicide or kind of enjoyment.
No, that suicide thing is foreign to all. Let me tell you something. People are not going to let what I'm about to say. I'm going to be Bellamy, the guy I'm going to say this. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Prince Johnson is an extremely savvy character in the Liberian ballot politics. He understands the ground. He knows how to maneuver his way. He knows how to push his weight around, and he does it so strategically, and it works every single time. How do you counter that? With truth and direct action against him. Look, the people in Nima County will vote properly. Whatever you do to Prince Johnson is not going to determine your vote, President Weah. But he made people to believe that if you touch him, you touch Nima County. They are not one and the same. But our God better.
He's acting like the people of Nima County and him are inextricably linked.
He thinks that he absolutely
believes it.
You see, most often people always give Prince Johnson, I think they're giving him a lot of publicity.
Correct.
Yeah.
To talk about him as though he indeed is a kingmaker. 2005 election, Prince Johnson got some money from the CDC and got a pickup. That's not the first time he played a game with them. They went at loggerhead. The 2017, 2018 election, it was the same Prince Johnson who said, and I quote, that if Senator Weah become president, we'll go to war. Few days later, Senator Johnson and President Weah were saying what they were saying in the St. Gauls Church in Nigeria, dining and whining. He came by a few months ago, a year ago, he said, as a prophet, what he see the people and the current government going at loggerhead because the current government will rig the election. Afterwards, we saw Prince Johnson again with President Weah in Nimba County. Nimbadians need to come to this place to understand this thing here, that they cannot be puppet for Prince Johnson. Senator Johnson is not the godfather of that country. These people lost their lives, their homes, their properties, their sons and their daughters. And because of the civil crisis today, like Mr. Sandy said, you know how many people, I went to Ghana in 2009 for a conference. I went on the camp. There was a guy who recognized me in the dark. And I went to him, I saw him, good technician. And I said, look, B-Brother, what are you doing here? I'm operating a radio and television station in Liberia. Can you come with me? Let's go home. The guy said to me, what I saw, Jeroy, I can never go home.
Yeah, trauma.
He still live in Ghana.
Yeah, trauma.
So how many persons are in Monrovia now? When Charles Taylor left, the Vanguard forces, one of the commander left a cell phone at the executive mansion for me around the Satu end. He said, go get the phone. I left it somewhere in the war. When I went there, I called the guys. I said, the phone is not here. He said, go behind the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That was after the so-called World War I, World War II, and World War III.
Yeah.
Any man or woman, a father, the figure, a mother, who will go behind the Ministry of Foreign Affairs those days,
Yeah.
when you see the young people, look, you will hold your stomach to cry. It was that day when I came from behind the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, everything about me changed. I became so vindictive. Never wanted to see anybody calling themselves a politician or people who came as liberator to champion the cause for change, because what I saw behind there was a breeding ground for chaos.
Oh, yeah.
And today, here we are, 8 years ago, General Bodnicki and myself, I think it should be 13 years now, we first appeared on EFW radio. We had the same conversation that the proliferation of ghettos will be our problem tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not only that the guys who fought the war, but there will be other recruits. 8 years ago, Bodnicki and myself had an exclusive again. We talk about the same thing. You know, just as mosquitoes serve, our dirty water will serve as a breeding ground for mosquito, so those ghettos are serving as a breeding ground not only for the boys who held the AK-47.
Yeah.
So why should we give Senator? I don't give him publicity at all. I don't give him publicity. Likewise, some of the so-called liberators. I think this is the time. It's incumbent now, like Volcano said. What is needed is we need to hold our representatives and senators fire to their feet to the fire. We need to ask our presidential candidate, what will you do for us in terms of justice? What will you do? Because we still see some of these people surfacing around. We still see them in the corridor. We still see them hanging around power. They are not the only qualified people. They're not.
Gerald, quickly,
They're not even qualified.
Yes.
Let me take this caller.
They're talking about violence.
The caller calls from Iowa, 2728.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Your name?
My name is Atelius Walter Senior, and I call you from Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Welcome. You're following the conversation.
Yes, I'm following the conversation. I want to say congratulations to you guys for always making your duty every time to disseminate the information.
Thank you.
I have two concerns.
Okay.
One has to do with Prince Johnson. I listened to Dualu not too long, and he said that Prince Johnson think that he owns Lima. And Dualu, I want to say to you for free, Prince Johnson owns Lima. Any way you want to turn it. Lima people will never vote properly until Prince Johnson dies. Listen to what I'm telling you today. Lima people will never ever vote properly.
So you from Nima County, my man? You from Nima County?
No,
I'm
I
not from
think
Lima.
But how you know
I'm
that?
he's
using
speaking
a-
his mind. Yeah.
I'm using a political mathematics to determine that.
Okay.
It started from early time. And it's in Joshua time. And if Joshua must lead of it, Prince Johnson still living. The next politician that want to take state power will still dance with Prince Johnson. They don't want to make it Prince Johnson relevant. So as long as he dances with Prince Johnson, Lima people will dance with Prince Johnson.
Okay, your first
You
concern.
believe-
What's the second concern?
Yeah. The second concern has to do with, which is very laughable. You know, I sat and listened to all the platforms, all the political platforms in Liberia from my home here. And then I hear everyone say, Joshua is incompetent, Joshua is this, Joshua is that. But then the question is, how can an incompetent man like Josh be up with educated people like you guys? Joshua continues to make mistakes every day. But the only thing you do is for you to open your show with call, or start opening a show for us to call. Spoon has open a show for us to call. Man, not open your show for us to call. The other open your show for us to call. Then I did pass with a new thing what Joshua to do. It's not going to help her. Joshua is a fraud of protest. Keep protesting, Joshua will suffer. No matter see inside. Election is not the only way you can take government from power. No, it's within our constitution. The power belongs to us. We can determine if the government is not meeting our desire. It's clear. Why would we do against something that we put in the constitution? Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Listen, quickly, gentlemen. The thing the guy said, Jenna, it just awakened me. Look what happened in Iran. I mean, Thomas.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
and they're much more brutal.
Who would ever think that Iran, a country that on strict principles, would get to a degenerated state now to where it's at for the death of a young woman? So yes, 3 missing boys, auditors, Princess Cooper. We can go down the list.
Yeah, no justice.
And no justice. And you got George, we are appointing to the NPA. You saw the man appointment again, my man? Oh, yeah, you see the appointment?
I saw it briefly, but I didn't go through it.
Okay. But this guy is not serious about this country. And I think this guy just said something that is very, very probable. That more protests, more noise will shake the fabric of the country. Because if you think that you're going to ease your way into 2023, you're making a big mistake. No one should ease the way. From the Cummings, all you Cummings fans here tonight, Cummings should not ease his way. He should not glide his way. Now, Jeroy, I don't know if you related to that Cummings, but we'll talk about that behind the scene. but Joseph Boaga should not ease his way to the presidency. None of them should ease their way to the presidency because they use this opportunity to make these big empty promises, and when they come to power, it's business as usual.
Mr. Shelton,
need to really stand up. And another caller. Let me take this caller quick. Then one of you guys will come in. 8123. Welcome to the issues room.
Yeah. Hi, Volcano. How are you?
Good. Your
Yeah,
name?
I just want. This is Morris. I just want to make it quick. I think this should be my second time. Yeah. Am I on?
Yeah, you're on. You're live. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, there was a little delay. You see, the sad thing about Liberia, the whole argument of TRC, the war crime. I mean, how can a country fight war for 14 years? After that, the whole country just decided to politicize. What happened after that? You know, because what's just in case the reoccurrence of what we experienced during the 14 years war? There's nothing. How can you hold people accountable for what happened? Look, in Sierra Leone, what happened in Sierra Leone? After the war crime code was established, they did not just stop by just punishing people who committed heinous crime. They set a mechanism. I think the House passed a law in 2004 of May. You can Google it. They passed a law, and in that law, they put certain things that just in case this thing happens, what the punishment for all those people that would take, that would decide to repeat what happened, what they experienced. See, in other countries, their TRC was somehow honest. They was truthful, but in Liberia, they were not even remorseful. I'll give you one example. In South Africa, Steve Biko was killed in 1976 after the Soweto riot. When that man was killed by a policeman during the 19th TRC, this guy walked to the TRC here and confessed that yes, he killed Steve Biko in 1976 during the Soweto riot. So people were truthful, but in Liberia, no, it's the other way. They are not remorseful. They are boastful. Then the whole country should just go silent, just go to sleep. People trying to politicize it. Well, after 20, 50 years, this thing happened. So it's not just about punishing the people. It's about setting putting things into place just in case of the reoccurrence of the 40 year civil war. So this is not something that is just looking at pregnancy or looking at this person. No. So,
Thank you.
but it's a good. This is a good discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks
you.
for the time.
So you
And
know what
thank
it
you for
is?
coming
Stop
too.
protesting. Listen, stop protesting at the American embassy. Go to George Weah Resort. Jamaica
Thank you.
Resort. Go to his 47 condominiums that Moses said. Go to his 9th Street residence. Then where they're supposed to stop protesting. Making sure that they surround our whole Jamaica Resort. Let his stomach start shaking inside and he won't go to the toilet. Honestly. Because when you go to
You think they're gonna be wasting time? I said the legislature.
The legislature.
It was Dualu that talked about Thomas Jefferson, right? Thomas Jefferson said, "I know of no ultimate power of the society, but the people themselves." So
Hearing the people.
it's now about is the time now that the people will wake up. Look at some of the myth these guys can be telling our people. Cyril Allen sat at the TRC. Nobody was checking that. He lied that Podia was in his office when they were executing the 13 men. But we got videotape where Podia was at the post in an exclusive interview with journalists saying that, yes, these people got to go. We got to execute them to save our state, our country from massive corruption. Alhaji Kroman, peace be to his ashes, told the Liberian people the same myth at the TRC that Podia was not aware. So these guys in our country, they continue to tell our people lies. They believe it. They come and heal them. I'll give you one shocking revelation.
Can you hold that revelation? Let me take this caller.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I don't want to keep you too long in queue. Caller from North Dakota, actually 7462. Your name?
Oh yes, hi. How are you? How you doing?
Good.
So my name is
Go ahead. Your life.
Joseph Sandy. I have a concern or a comment to make. You know, I love the show that you guys have, and I really appreciate whatever discussion that's going on. But my concern is, we as Liberian, we don't implement what we say we stand for. Okay, what do I mean for that? We know people who are doing the wrong thing, but yes, still we support them. We will say something. Like now we are speaking about Mr. Weah being corrupt, but the entire system is corrupt. We need to stand up now and be able to do something. But are we willing to do it? No. No,
So
we are not willing.
So what do you mean? Are we willing? You mean for me who sitting down in Philadelphia and you who in North Dakota? What do you want to do? You don't
Okay,
have.
what do I
I'm
mean?
coming out. Maybe you don't even have voting rights. So how will you make a change if you don't have voting rights?
No, even it's true that you and I would not have that right, but the poor in Liberia who are going through this a mess, as I will say it, they know what they are going through, and they need to speak out for themselves. All we are doing, or you guys are doing, is to help them, be able to open their eyes.
See, that's what we're
to
doing.
see
Yes, we're enlightening them. We're trying to make sure that the things that they
those
don't
things that they
know.
are not saying.
Yeah.
But like for example, like even the other day I was watching a show where
My man, you there?
Nathaniel Mange was being called, honorable. How can someone steal from a country and put a state giving him that a title as honorable? No. Yes, it's just what I want to say as a contribution.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Daryl, make your motion.
So the guy said, how can somebody steal and you still call them honorable? But here's what I wanted to say. Volcano, we play with justice in our country, right? They call on, I talk about Prince Johnson saying that he owned Nimba County. The guy is right. 1991, 92, Prince Johnson was saying under the Ministry of Education with his guitar, you kill me, you kill Charles Taylor, you kill Ellen, this country will be at peace. Until then, there will be no peace here. Here is another place we play with justice. I was privileged to work with the late Harry Gree some years back. A former FBI investigator did some investigation, auditing work on LPRC with an entire, document as far as Membo, people collecting money, sitting at the the old Jeroy building, collecting money, signing for it, and that document was given to. There were only 3 persons that saw the document at the time: Jeroy Cummings, Harry Gree, Yombly Kanga. The 4th person to lay out on the document was Edwin Snow. The 4th person. But what became of that investigation? Who became the victim at the end of the day? The late chairman, Judy Bryan. But there were people who squander our resources who are sitting down up there today. They call themselves lawmaker. So many people in our country who are afraid of the economic aspect of the establishment of war and economic crimes code. So they're afraid of the economic aspect of it because they feel that there will be documents that will surface tomorrow.
Of course.
They feel that there will be documents that will surface tomorrow, so they're afraid.
The caller from Iowa, your name?
Oh, my name is DC Wilson. Good evening, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Moses, Volcano, and the rest of the guys.
Sure.
I'm kind of taken aback, flabbergasted. We're talking about TRC or truth, talking about setting up a war crime code. But when I see Mr. Ellis' comments in bed with individuals who were part and parcel of the war that brought destruction of Liberia, it baffles me a whole lot. I see Brother Cummings over there talking about other names and one of you. You're talking about change. You're not supposed to be doing business with people who destroy our country. I'm concerned. I want Cummings to this to address himself to this issue because, secondly, Mr. Prince Johnson is on record. He told the Liberian people Ellis Cummings gave him $55,000. Why should Ellis Cummings give money to a warlord? What was he thinking? And Ellis Cummings has not addressed this issue yet. He gave money to Prince Johnson, and Prince Johnson told the people, you want to be Mr. Clean Man. What are you doing business with a man who destroyed our country? Thank you, guys.
Well, I think that's a very, very
I think that's a salient point he struck right there.
Point he putting forth. And just today I was sitting in a conversation and I asked, who you already think going to be president of Liberia? Because all the men, none of them prepared. Because they still got the same people. I started making appointments in government already. I was appointing government officials for Baka. I was appointing government because you can see already what's going to come. What's going to be delivered to the Liberian people, whether it's George Weah, whether it's Alexander Cummings, whether it's Joseph Boyka, whoever. We already know that government officials. Tell me if you don't see a Dualu. I want you to come in on this.
Look, I was driving from work yesterday, and I was different yesterday, and I saw the Powerball and the Mega Million. And I swear, I said this prayer to God. I bought 2 tickets. I said, God, give me this money. I will go to Liberia. I will run for the presidency. I will spend my entire life. And this was a serious prayer I was saying in the car. Look, the options we are left with, it makes you cringe. And you wonder about your country now. Yes, the danger, we are playing with those. Even though those options may have some question, but we cannot leave President Weah in the presidency. I believe anybody that likes a Gunglo, Honorable Cummings, Honorable Park will be far better than President George Weah. But sometimes they are bringing additional baggage with them. I personally believe, and I always say this, I can never ever work in government, ever. Maybe you have to be a porkigami. You have to be brutally forceful constitutionally for me to even consider an advisory position in your government. Because it doesn't matter what you do, you will destroy your last name if you go work for these people. Because they're not serious about the issue of governance. Look, we have a society that is complicit with anything that happens to them. Nothing, no institution works. The entire government is controlled by a single individual. big menism has taken over the society. Look, you can say what you want to say, but I already believe if President we are remains in power, there might be an implosion of our society. Now, people say Liberian people cannot protest forever. They take them to break. In fact, I published a paper. It's called "Socioeconomic Consequences if President Weah is given a second term. What will happen to the country?" It's a literally it's like a prediction or prophecy. And one of the things I point out in there, look, if these boys still want a second term for the Liberian people, and they are this brazen, they are this brutal, they are this corrupt. Imagine when they want nothing else from the Liberian people. They would throw the bath water out with the baby. They wouldn't care. They would destroy the country to its core. Look, we are playing with so much issue in the country, but the opposition has to do far better than what they're doing. And I will see that point to you because right now I'm confused. I believe. I hope God answer my prayer. That's what I get to do.
No, already, gentlemen,
Did you play?
I played. I tell you, I didn't play.
gentlemen, you should now begin to see what will come 2023. I already telling you, I already know some of Joseph Barker ministers. I know who's gonna be a defense minister already. And y'all want me to call her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I already know. Because they say our Congo people say when you lay down with the dog, you get up with the flea.
The flea.
Right?
It's a direct
Birds of
quote.
the same feather flock together. So Alexander Cummings already showing you some of the people around him, and some of the people who were former warlords, some of the people who were part of the old regime, the old order, who didn't G nor whore. They're coming back.
Oh man, you remind me of my mother. My mother said,
Yeah, they didn't G nor whore. Now they're coming back. So I already need the government official. So that's what we are. When he appoint, he don't care. He ain't even no read resume. He just say, put the man there.
The bigger you said it, forget it.
Yeah. So that's what's gonna happen. So gentlemen, let's drive this home. Let's drive this home.
Yeah.
The TRC will help set the trend for justice in our country. Because when we hold some of these people, if not all of them, but at least rather the major players.
The major players, yes.
If they can reparate, pay back for the lives they took, the innocent lives they took, rather than sit here and make millions and brag about it. If we can start that process,
Floating it in our faces.
yeah, then we on our way to reconciliation. Then we on our way to the rule of law. Then we on our way to creating some kind of what I would call international presence, because then the world would take us seriously. They say the Liberian people are not so indigent about the conditions. They're taking an action and they're doing something. But until the TRC, because why is Ellen walking around scot-free as well?
Why?
Name came up.
These are some of the questions.
So
That's why you supposed to bring your good friend Massa today.
yeah.
But look,
So, honestly, Moses, I know you were coming, but I just wanted us to start thinking that the TRC would be a precursor to some form of justice. And let's hope that the visit of Beth Van Schaack will make some kind of difference. We don't just want her to come there, but I hope her report back here to the U.S. will make a difference. And if this president comes in December, I hope that the TRC conversation will come out, and he must be honest about it. Because come 2023, if nothing is done, if the TRC doesn't take foot, I doubt it if we're going to have anything done.
yeah. So my proposal would be that just to piggyback on what Jeroy said is that in order to move this forward, we need a legislature that is very effective. And what we currently have is a compromised legislature. That's why 2023 is very, very critical. All the guys, Vonnie Sherman, Prince Johnson, Milton Tiaje, and all of the compromised lawmakers need to go. In that legislature, you need people who believe in Liberia, who want to see a Liberia that will be serviceable, that will meet the needs of its people. And that's the kind of legislature that we need in our country. So the way forward, you make a change in the legislature. And please, my people, like Jeroy said earlier, look, constitutionally, when you want to present petition, that's why one of the fundamental responsibility of the legislature is representation. All petitions should be presented to your lawmakers. And the seat of the lawmaker is the Capitol building. You don't have to go to the U.S. Embassy. Go and make your presentation to your lawmakers, the House of Representatives, the Senate. Make your presentation to them and let the people champion your cause. And that's why it's important that we get people in our legislature that will put Liberia first. But the current legislature, like Young Lee said, is compromised.
Well, she's also compromised as well.
Very compromised. They have individuals who are there that are primarily focused on pushing the agenda of the ruling party. That's how
I want to say this to my brother Will. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I wrap it right there.
Okay, I want to say to my brother Wilson, look, you cannot expect people to do something that they don't have the skills to do. You know, people asking for leadership for President Weah. It's not possible. It doesn't mean he cannot do it because he doesn't understand it. But let me say this. You know, people always say, well, under Liberian law, you cannot do this. Under Liberian law, let me tell you something. When these guys were killing people in the Republic of Liberia, Liberian law was there and they still killed them. Liberian law is whatever. People don't understand it. The Constitution of the Republic of Liberia, it is not a preamble. Article 1, Article 2. This is what the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia is. Whatever the people want it to be at any time they so choose. Let me repeat. The Liberian Constitution is whatever the people want it to be whenever they so choose. All powers are invested in the people. Understand that basic phrase. We can go tomorrow morning. The House of Representatives can pass a simple law, or the people can get in the street. They say, as of today, immediately, anybody who play a major role in the war can never hold any political office in the country. It can become law tomorrow if the people deem it necessary. Let me repeat. The people can get in the street tomorrow and say, anybody, I don't care if you're elected, it can be anybody. The people can change the law tomorrow morning and say, anybody who play a major role in the war cannot hold any political office. That's a law. That's how laws work. You don't need a legislature for that. We cannot depend on these vagrants to protect the state. And I'll give it to you guys.
Jeroy.
Look, this thing is very, very simple. Easy. Very simple. Very simple. If you go back to Emmett Cohen's presentation at the TRC, he said, when they met Mr. Taylor in La Côte d'Ivoire, in his mind, the war was going to end right in Butuo. But Liberians in the diaspora, led by the late Thomas Jokoti Wowoyu and others, said they were gaining upper hand, so Samuel Doe must go. There were Liberians meeting lawmakers here, putting the case forth. We can do the same. Between now and December, everything that lady said in the interview, she kept saying, it's up to the Liberian people.
Oh, it's in the code of Liberia.
It's up to the Liberian people. We will come in to give technical advice, technical support. We'll stand by the people. Now the ball is in the court of the people. Oh, Volcano, you know stranger. Sandy, you know stranger. Dualu, you know stranger to Liberia. Over the years in our country, these alleged perpetrators have been the guys people will run to their homes, standing up online, waiting for handout, waiting for money. So let's change the narrative by asking our people in the country, you stand up now or you don't stand up tomorrow. Do something before President Weah leave for the U.S. Liberians in the diaspora, whether you're from CDC, whether you're from UP or whatever party you come from, do something now. Stand up now, or else 2023, whoever become the next president and don't prioritize justice, I see the people will revolt. They will stand up, and most people will not like it. And when you say these things, people who I don't know whether they experienced the war, or I don't know because they are receiving handout. I don't know because they support their presidential candidate. And this is the place sometimes I differ with some of the people. When I see people who were playing the ball games yesterday, I spent 34 years of my lifetime living in Liberia, never went to exile during the war. My late father was caught. They went to his house, dragged my father from there and said he was keeping rebel in his swimming pool, stripped him butt naked and beat him beyond recognition. Okay? So we victims of these things. When we talk about it, we do not talk because we hate somebody. We want to see justice for everybody. But when some people get up, they say, oh, people in the diaspora. And some of the people who you see today are calling themselves senator. They lie these days. When we were in the country interviewing them, they were pointing fingers at Liberians living in the diaspora. But they came here, and Liberians in the diaspora supported their quest to be senators and representatives.
Yep.
But today, they cannot reciprocate the kind gesture to say, we'll champion the cause for justice. And our people sit down and looking at these people and saying, oh, this is what we need to do. You know, we're just coming from war. I was Senator Snow tell somebody they're just coming from war, there's no need to protest. I just can't believe it. And some of our people here saying, oh, our king's men came to our rescue. This thing is not about ethnicity. There were kids. There's a story I just can't forget about. When Prince Johnson killed the late Colonel Macaulay down Point 4. We woke up that morning and Colonel Macaulay was crying. I didn't know. In his crew vernacular, they tied that man. He was a firefighter. He was not a military man, a common firefighter. We woke up that morning and that man was crying. My people that made the caring. I ran outside because every time they go and execute people down the beach around where they had Sinsa Kellerman, we walk behind the soldiers. And when I ran outside, it was Colonel Macaulay, somebody that I knew very well, crying only in his brief. And they just told this man, just dress over there. The only thing I heard was the sound of the AK-47. On our way to Fender, there was a man who they took from on the line, knocking down right in front of us, cut off his throat.
See the trauma I was talking about?
So, if some of us, if it was not for the grace of God, if it was not for the grace of God, we're going to hold the AK-47, or we come to this country, we start acting crazy. And people will say, but we're not that guy on drugs. The guy was in the country. That guy was on the radio. How in the world he gone crazy? It was God's grace. But look how many people are in the country today. There are people here today. When I came to Minnesota, I met a group of some former fighters in the Brooklyn Park area. People that I knew that were holding the AK-47 made their way here.
Of course.
They're here. I went to Philadelphia. I saw the same thing. And today, when we talk about justice, people say, oh, Pastor Cummings, that man sort of go be preaching now, and you need to lead this TRC thing. No.
I don't understand.
No.
And I think the crosstier of this conversation tonight, if all of you who are viewing us and will follow the replay, we're talking about a country that is still broken, a country that had 2 elections, or rather 3 elections, but has gone nowhere. A country that was given a lot of gifts, monetary gifts, resources, and so forth, and continue to benefit, and yet the country has gone nowhere. The only thing, or the only benefit, are in the pockets of individuals who were directly responsible for the problems in the country, for the young people, the hundreds of thousands of young people who are now considered nobody. These are the people who continue to benefit from the handouts. So I will implore the United Nations, I will implore the American government, the World Bank, stop giving money to Liberia, because the people are not benefiting it. Let them scramble for the ones they can find there and let them play with it until it finishes. Stop giving monies, because Liberia has gone nowhere. From early time to now, I don't see what we've done. I don't see how far we've come. Now, Some of you who have never traveled, some of you who always been there, see the little single era and no 4-story building with no elevator. You say that they're developing the country. But when fire happens on the 4th floor, you got to jump from the 4th floor or you got to run downstairs. You understand me? So let's be practically honest here. What have we really gained since the cessation of our civil war? And I've had 3 elections. Show me it, except individual people getting rich. So we really need to rethink. We really need to rethink. We can't continue to say that, oh, wait a minute, oh, we'll get there. Things will get better. But things don't get better. People make things better.
Absolutely.
Things don't get better on their own. Dualu,
Nope.
Moses, and Jeroy,
Gotta
people
force the
make
issue.
things better.
What's the issue?
If I decide now to clean up my house and take all of the junk out of here and give it space, then it's a decision that I'm going to make. But if I stay there and think that the junk in my house will be cleared off miraculously, then that's not going to happen.
So true.
So that's the problem Liberia has. People are not making the effort to make things better. And they're sitting there thinking that things are going to get better by hook or crook, by miracles, by money, by the mullet man, by sacrifices, by some kind of, I don't understand it, supernatural power. So Liberian people, you got to make things better. You got to stand up for the things that you want. Your country is plunging lower every day. Every day. Every day. Your country is plunging lower. And you will continue until you enter the abyss. And I don't know how you will come out. Moses.
Yeah. I mean, you guys already did all of the key analysis. Like we said, we all need to hold our warlords or former warlords accountable in a country. And the way forward is to ensure that the culture of impunity, the problem of the culture of impunity in Liberia is addressed. These people need to be held accountable. They cause so much mayhem for our people. Look at the amputees in the country. Look at the many widows. Sometimes you hear about the AFL widows, right? Look at those people. The Zogos. These are all what? A good number of them are former what? Child soldiers, right? These are individuals that were recruited by Prince Johnson, Dr. George Bole, Ahaji Kroma, and the others. And what happened to them? After the war, they abandoned those people, looked the other way. They exploited those young people. They all became rich overnight. And you have a Prince Johnson walking around, calling himself today as owner of a university. Where did he get that money from? He exploited those young people. And today, these are the people that they refer now to as the Zogos. Like this a story that Jeroy just narrated. The condition, the way his dad was treated. There are so many people in our country walking around with such memories. Some of our people have even committed suicide. Some have become hopeless because their parents, their husbands, their wives, their children were executed by Prince Johnson and others. These people need to be held accountable. And let me pause there and give it back to Dualu.
So let me just say this quick. We about 8 minutes into closure. So I think let's drive the nail in the coffin. The covering is the TRC. We really got to make this case. If we have to, all of our platforms will have to hold productions, once a month on the TRC until December, so that the American government can hear us. That this president in Liberia, who just appointing all kind of babati there in position, the guy ain't serious.
That's serious.
The man ain't serious.
Yeah, has to go.
Volcano, it's not,
man. Come on,
it's not about the seriousness.
Many men has to go.
It's the consequences to the people in the country. Look, we are the fortunate few, and when we talk about the TRC, it's a hope to make Liberia righteous again. We, we are not saying this for punishment. We are saying this to set this country right. There are real people that really got hurt and still suffering from this hurt. I was walking one day in Liberia. I love to think of myself one of the fortunate few. Some of the things you guys saw, I never saw. When the war started, I was 12 years old, 1990, 12 years old. I was fortunate. We walked to Lock. My father came down to Ivory Coast, make some arrangement, and sent a car for us. We got in the vehicle, we went through Kakata, went through Banga, and we crossed the border. That was my war experience. So we are the fortunate generation. We were able to come to this people country, gain some education, stay some time in refugee camp. But we were not only the threat back home, but when you go to the country and you see people that you grew up with, they look like they're 75 years old, desperate condition. Most of those conditions are being exacerbated by the condition in that country because we refuse to set the country right. Sometimes people say, "Dualu, why do you care? You didn't experience the war." Look, I tell people this: when God blesses you, you have a great responsibility to restore that blessing on another person. I'm not preaching, Pastor, but I'm saying this. There's a responsibility that you cannot neglect. Because if you neglect that responsibility, you are saying to God that that blessing was not fully appreciated. Our people must be touched by us. We talk because this responsibility is a burden that cannot be neglected. Liberia is bleeding. Who's going to stop this bleeding? There is nobody else to put Lapa around Liberia anymore. She's running around, scared naked, butt naked in the street. Nobody cares for her anymore. We have neglected her. The issue of Liberia must be taken seriously because if we don't, this condition will be exacerbated over and over, and we're going to create a Zogodom, which becomes Liberia. I'll give it to you guys.
Gerald?
I'm going to throw this to the three of you, Volcano, Sandy, Dualu. It's somewhere in the Bible, Mordecai said to Esther, it's not because you are in the king's palace, but whatever thing affect us will affect you. And Volcano said it earlier on that we need to have these discussions continuously until December. Most especially, I want to throw it to you, Dualu. I remember you was talking about the economic aspect of it some years back on different platforms, how we can develop our country.
Yep.
All we need now is justice. And I can say this, right? People, I see some of the guys, the old hands, the people we know, I see them all around Cummings. I said in one of my messages some time back, I said, Mr. Cummings, Jehoshaphat was playing with the wrong crowd, running around with the wrong king. He caught himself and said, is there a prophet in the land whom we can consult? There are people you need to consult. But if you enter with some of these old players and do the same thing, the people in our native vernacular, they say, it's hard for you to say that you'll never find poop in the jawbone of a dog. No matter what you do, you'll always find poop in the jawbone of a dog. So whether Boaka bring them back, whether Cummings bring them back, meaning you look in the door mouth, you always see poop in the jawbone. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Wow. I got to do some research on it. What Wilson say? I don't know how truthful is that.
Yeah,
It is.
Sam Doe appointed at the NPA.
It
Was
is.
he deported?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, really?
I'll have
That's
to
a
look it
whole
up.
lot of
I'll do some research on it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I mean,
So,
and
well,
not to
let's-
cut you off, Volcano,
Yeah.
because the issue of Sendo, we have said these things repetitively. Mr. Weir does not understand governance. That's why he make all these terrible decisions. Go ahead, Volcano.
Yeah, so I was trying to come in here quick. When one of our avid viewers, Umo from Australia, says that she respects the people who stayed in Liberia since the beginning of the war till today and never left the country. Umo, you're making a mistake. let me tell you something. I was in Liberia from 1990 to 1997. So when you talk about the war, the April 6th, the Octopus, the 1990, those were serious, serious war,
Oh
especially
yeah.
April 6th. The April 6th brought Monrovia to its knee. I mean, destruction and death. So we seen the war, we felt the war. So irrespective of being there or not. But I just wanted to share that with you, Omo. But let's come back to the closure here for the show tonight. Gentlemen, I want you guys to give me your commitment. Let's do this going forward till December. December is two less than 2 months down the road. Let's do this once a month.
Yeah, we
Have this
can. Yeah.
conversation,
Mhm.
please. Because we got to awaken, awaken the call for this TRC to take place. And George, we actually just come here to America to pick up a Ballon d'Or again. Can't see her dog Roxy and brag and say, hey, say I'm not going to see Biden. I was with my papa. We were sitting down, we were drinking champagne. I don't want that. I want when the men see Biden, I want Biden to say all that nonsense he's doing. What? But you see, my man, that's why I'm missing. That's why I'm missing my man George Walker Bush back. George Walker Bush in power, eh?
Mentor your own raw.
The
Yeah.
man, the man said,
That
tell
was
her
on portrait.
yeah, So we are don't that your suitcase you pack enough clothes because you might not go back. Pack enough clothes. But the truth here is, President Weah, let me look you in the eye tonight. Apart from all the joke here, why are you afraid? Why are you afraid to establish the War Crime Code? What will you do for once for the Liberian people? Because what have you done? The tuition, the free tuition thing, it even messed the whole educational system, then rather fixed it. The bad road medicine, you now the bad medicine for road according to Bwaka. Because we
I
can see
mean,
the
I
road.
gotta run away.
I know you.
Daddy duty call, so I'll run
Yeah.
away for y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
All right. It was
We
a
can see
pleasure
the
having you,
we
Dualu.
can see the roads. You bring invisible park, the park causing more problem than being a park. You build 14 military or urgent clinic, is not doing much for the country. JFK is still in peril. So you put your hand in many things, but we agree. When you don't have proper plan, that's what happens. A person who build a house with no plan will break down and keep patching and keep adding. So that what happened. But let's do this. Please give the TRC to the Liberian people before 2023. Give the TRC. You got nothing to be afraid of. You already filtered rich. You've collected enough. Give the TRC to the Liberian people. And we'll continue to make this call until you get your December. That's the way I want to close.
Thank you.
Gerald, thank you so much for coming through tonight.
Thank you.
Reach out to you again, my brother. I know that all of us have messages to give, and sometimes we got to jog up between what we do. But again, it was great that you could accept our invitation. And thank you. We'll reach out to you in November. We got to do one more of this show and one more in December.
Thank
So
you.
we have two of this kind of conversation to hold for the establishment of the War Crime Court. I wish I had the opportunity. We'll see if we can work, and I know you can help us work behind the scenes to see if we can get the lady Ambassador Beth Van Schaack.
Yeah,
We,
on the
we
show.
can we can try to do something. We can check with the State Department.
Yeah,
See
that
what
that
can
that,
we-
that would be a nice one, at least to
Yeah.
speak to Liberians in the diaspora
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
So we'll push some buttons and see. But honestly, I want to say thank you for coming through tonight. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
So Moses, quickly, let me just recognize some folks here. Rachel Hammer, thank you so much for showing up. Comfort Abu, yeah, they say that ice cream. Is that the same PEA driver that the man made managing director? The ice cream girl Nebo.
Yeah,
That's
the
not.
ice cream. Yeah.
Yeah, so ice cream is now the managing director, followed by Sam Doe, managing deputy managing director for operations. Well, well, That's what you get from George Weah. Flomo Livingstone, thank you so much for coming. Adiaha Umo, it was good having you all the way there from Australia. We say thank you for showing up. Arthur Tarty Senior, Linda West, let me run down. Veronica Nimson, thank you. It was good having you. Continue to invite friends and family members to the issues room. Alfred Cowboy, thank you again for showing up. Daniel Gideon Kekula, he says, all the way from Miami City, Bone County, in Liberia. Thank you for coming through. Thomas Awaji and Emmanuel Jackson. Wifwe Francis, all you wonderful people. Pastor Elmos Hager, it was good that you stopped by tonight. Henry Phelps and the rest of the folks here. God favor Mr. Snandi. Uh, it was good having you as well. Thank you so much. A lot of folks came in tonight. Emmanuel Jesse, Alma Freeman, and just so many of you. DC Wilson. It was good connecting again. You Montreal Krenga, thank you, and Sierra Townsend. We say thank you so much. Flomo Zuba. If we can call everyone name, we just want to thank you all for showing up tonight. We say we'll be back here Friday with another presentation at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At some point, the time would change outside of the American continent for especially the countries in the Greenwich time zone when it becomes midnight. But I'm sure when the time changes, that would be probably in November, right, Moses? I believe we usually get the time change. I think.
I don't want to be too fast on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but I know we're gonna have
I
where
know
the
we're gonna
time,
have a time
yeah,
change. Obviously, there's going to be an adjustment in
yeah,
time.
1 hour ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, we'll still be running at 7 p.m. our standard time. So the only time will change is between 11 and midnight. But that change will come when the time changes. Again, we say thank you. The issues room was established particularly to discuss the things that matter pertaining to Liberia, the African continent, and the Black diaspora. I am Volcano Shelton, Moses Sandy from Delaware, Volcano from Pennsylvania. We say good night, and we'll be back here Friday, God's willing. Moses, you have a good
Thank
one.
you. Thank you, Rob. It
Good
was
night.
a pleasure.